So, a friend asked me to answer three questions concerning race and what I feel about race. Um, I don't pretend to be an expert on this. I'm not woke. Uh, I'm really not a news junkie, so I don't spend a lot of time listening to the news. Uh, and I have friends, uh, mainly white friends, I'll admit, who have differing opinions on this, but I'm going to give you mine to the best of my ability. The first is, what is white privilege? Uh, White privilege is a term that I've only heard the last few years. Uh, I, Probably less than 5 years ago, I heard it for the first time. I'm not sure. And I think probably the first time I heard the term, I had a negative reaction to it uh, because I really didn't understand it. And the more I thought about it, the more I think it does apply to me, and I'm certain it does. And one of the main, well, before I get to uh, my personal thoughts on how it affects me, let me just say what I understand about the definition of it. White privilege basically is a systemic um, or a social uh, engineering that has set up our society so that white folks like me uh, have built-in or unearned privileges and benefits uh, that we don't even know that we have. And some of the one that really gets my attention is the fact that black families, have to have what they call the conversation with their kids to tell them basically, how to stay alive if they get stopped by the police. That's something I never had to contemplate with my kids. Uh, and there's more. I mean, you know, again, I'm not an expert on it, but from housing to careers to education, it seems like there's some kind of systemic built-in favoritism for white people in every one of those areas. Uh, Anytime that we've had to create laws and uh, city ordinances to overcome these systemic uh, plans, shows you right there that there's favoritism for white people. So, you know, again, uh, I'm not an expert at it, but reading more about it, learning more about it, I can see, that I benefit from it, and for many years have benefited from it and didn't even know it. The next is white fragility. What is white fragility? This one I'm not real sure of. I guess probably the best way that I can explain it is to say that it seems to me to be exhibited when people are in denial about white privilege. No, and they'll say, "Hey, I never owned slaves. Uh, you can't blame me. I do my best to treat everybody the same." And they're denying the fact that the system is designed or built to favor them and that they benefit from it. It's a defense system, um, and I think deep down in the deepest parts of our hearts, we all know that this exists. And if you don't acknowledge it and work to eradicate it, then you're just going with the flow. You're just uh, enjoying the benefits that you don't deserve, you haven't earned. The next question is, why do Black Lives Matter? Well, Black Lives Matter, and I'm not talking about the group or the movement or anything like that. I'm talking about Black lives. Why do Black Lives Matter? Black Lives Matter because in the end, we're all one. We're all one. I go back to Carl Sagan's essay on the pale blue dot from 1990. And, this planet, uh, our life here on this earth is so insignificant in the greater scheme of things. Uh, we're all one. So the pigment of our skin is different. Uh, that's that's ridiculous. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I can't explain why that is that way, but it is. And what's the difference? Inside, we all have the same organs. We all have the same physiology. We have the same goals and desires. And black lives no different from white lives. Um, the only difference is the white lives are benefiting from this system that was designed to disenfranchise people that weren't white. And it was also designed so that white people like me never realized it was happening. That's my understanding of these three topics: white privilege, white fragility, and that's my reasoning for also why Black Lives Matter. Again, I'm not an expert. I'm just a guy trying to do the right thing and not perfect. Thanks. Bye.